Can you remember your first history lesson? As it happens, I can, because I was told a story, and it's the story I remember, so I know that it was in a history lesson. It was at a little rural primary school in the West Country, very old-fashioned, old, much carved wooden desks and chairs. Because it was in the countryside, along the windowsill were little fish paste pots with wildflowers in them, speedwell, campion, forget-me-not, all these, and I got to know a lot of wildflowers through that. You could look out of the great tall windows. When you're 7, all windows are tall, but I could see fields with sheep, and they got through the lambing. The lambs were now getting quite large. You regularly passed cow pats in the main village street. You follow the general idea. And Miss decided that she was going to tell us a story. I suppose she felt that we'd worked hard enough during the day and we deserved a story at the end of the afternoon. So she left her desk where she did her sacred marking of the register, which was almost a religious ritual in the morning, and she came and sat on one of the front desks in the main body of the class. And she told us all about King Harold and the Battle of Hastings. I'd never heard the story before, and it absolutely bowled me over. I found myself identifying with the song, particularly the English, obviously, and I came to think that Harold was a pretty jolly good chap. And when Miss told us that Harold had been shot in the eye, I was appropriately disappointed, very sad. But how had he got shot in the eye? He got shot in the eye because Duke William on the other side had ordered his archers to fire up in the air. Up till then, they'd been firing their arrows, like everybody else in an ordinary army, straight at the enemy. But Harold had used the shields of his soldiers to protect them against the arrows. So William broke the rules, cheated a bit, and didn't fire the arrows at the shields anymore, but fired them up in the air so that they would drop on the English, which was a bit of a dirty trick, but that was nothing compared with the dirty trick that the Normans employed shortly afterwards. Because at the height of the battle, the Normans ran away down the hill, the English on top of a hill, and the Normans would come up the hill, and they'd turn around, run away down the hill. So the English thought they'd won, and they chased down the hill after the Normans to cut them up and polish them off. And then, guess what? These rotten Normans turned round and started fighting again. They weren't running away at all. They'd only pretended to run away, which I thought was the dirtiest of all dirty tricks. And of course, it won. Dirty tricks often do. Cheats, I'm afraid, do prosper. And the Normans won, and Harold was killed, and it was a great shame. So whenever I thought about this lesson, part of my thinking was taken up with a sense of outrage at what stinkers the Normans were. But the other half of my thinking was taken up with something that crossed my mind while Miss was actually telling us the story. And it was, here, there's something in this. I can almost remember the wording of the thought as it occurred to me. There's something in this history. And it was my first remembered acquaintance with it. And I've been telling stories about history pretty well ever since. And to tell a story now, you're faced with a common problem. Where do you start?